Hey everyone, it's Julia Chow. Welcome back to this channel. Today we're going to discuss the three man-made power structures, capitalism, patriarchy, and racism, and how that has a pervasive impact on you as a leader, as a business owner. It has everything to do with your results, with your ideal clients, all of it. I'm going to explain to you exactly why. I tried to make this video in three separate: capitalism, patriarchy, racism, separated, and to go dive in deeper. But I found that it was actually not possible to write good content that way because the three are so intertwined and they really do go together. So I'm gonna do my best to share stories that are relating to me, things that I have observed, because I understand that this type of topic will be quite triggering for a lot of people. I know that if you haven't been in high-level leadership, if you haven't been making your business happen, none of this stuff will make sense if it wasn't for your experience that you've had already. So if that doesn't make sense to you, just know that your life hasn't shown you that, or that is not your path. So please don't get upset or offended. This is not to attack you. If you do understand what I'm talking about here, you're gonna get tons of insights as to why you do the things you do, why you don't, why other people do the things they do and why they don't, and why some people can progress in business or in leadership super fast, why it takes you longer. I am assuming if you're here that you are a person that belongs in to some level in a minority group. You're a woman, you are BIPOC or POC, you belong in the LGBTQ plus community, any minority or oppressed group. One of the key requirements of you being a leadership and thriving in it and to grow your success even more is to stop being naive. There is a level of naivete for most of us, meaning the wealthiest people, the most privileged people, they have lessons that they teach their children from a very, very early age. So everything I'm gonna share with you today is probably a given to them, but the most of the world's population don't understand these concepts. And that's why when you're kept in the dark, you live on autopilot, you don't question things, because whatever has been normalized, you accept as the norm. What you don't know keeps you struggling. And that is part of the reason why you have this invisible glass ceiling and you're not able to articulate what it is. Please understand that you being highly educated, experienced in your industry, none of those things truly matter when it comes to success. Because success truly means climbing the privilege ladder. You have to be pragmatic, you have to be wise, you have to take off the blindfolds and start to understand and see things for how they really are. And more importantly, figure out how to gain advantage based on your position right now. Not only a knowledge is power, but perspective is the greatest power. Wisdom is the most powerful power. So if you find this video helpful and it really does help you shift your mindset as you progress, please like this video, comment down below, because that will help other people who are just like you to figure out their own life and to help them pave their own path to success. It will drive me to create more useful content like this for you. If you haven't yet watched the brief history of CPR, capitalism, patriarchy, and racism, I'm linking the video here. Please go watch that because it will make a lot more sense. First, we're gonna talk about capitalism, patriarchy together because they really do go together. Patriarchy started capitalism. Agriculture started patriarchy. And patriarchy is about ownership. Ownership in patriarchy is what began capitalism with land ownership and women ownership. That's where marriage became a thing. So just a side note, for those of you who think that you could have a non-patriarchal marriage, you're living in a fantasy dreamland. And there's absolutely no way to make women ownership romantic, no matter what the wedding industry people are trying to sell you with a beautiful dress, with a huge diamond ring and all that glam. Please understand that you're walking right into the system. This only resonates with those women who do have values around full independence and self-sufficiency. If you don't have those values, you probably hate me. We naturally segue into speaking about the most privileged people. So that can be the most privileged in the world or the most privileged in your corner of the world. The most privileged in the world are rich white men. The most privileged in your corner are probably somebody male, like your father, your husband, or some uncle, whoever has the most power in the family. That is the most privileged person. That person controls a lot of resources naturally. The oldest sons or the only sons tend to have the most privilege under patriarchal rule, and this is equally the same in most families. Patriarchy values male heir production. Therefore, if you belong in the LGBTQ plus community, you do not fit into those expectations. And that's why you're ostracized. People nowadays are conditioned for so many generations that they think that this bigotry towards LGBTQ plus community, when in fact, All it is patriarchal conditioning. Almost everything is ruled by patriarchy, same as the idea of monogamy. I don't believe humans are meant to be monogamous, but the rules in our society says so. Basically, the patriarchy is fulfilling capitalism agenda with the male heirs and the monogamy as well, to collect asset and to pass it on to have cascading wealth. While the oldest son or the only son may be the one given the privilege to lead the family, they may not be the best suited for that job. And plenty of younger siblings, including female siblings, are better fit in terms of their personality, ambition, and desires. Yet patriarchy channels most of the resources to the oldest or the only son. Obviously, this creates family drama, trauma, and lots of mental blocks for those who were not given the entitlement and privilege, for those who were made to believe that they were not good enough, or their talents and strengths not explored or encouraged from an early age. This is where it becomes relevant to you. When patriarchy did not approve of you because you did not belong in the top tier privilege that is tied to capitalism as well, you are going to have I'm not good enough mental blocks. So when it comes to mindset and all these people doing energy healing, subconscious reprogramming, blah, 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 it actually is completely tied to everything I just described. But now we want to look more into capitalism because wealth privilege is a huge thing. The richest white woman in this world or the richest Indian woman in this world is going to have more entitlement, self-belief than an oldest male heir in an average patriarchal family. This is because money matters. Money gives you power, it gives you options. More than anything, it gives you time. Time to figure yourself out, time to do different things, to explore, to be creative. This whole hustle culture is meant to keep people broke. Because guess what you do when you don't have time to think and reflect, to strategize your life? You work on autopilot and you follow instructions. This is what we call a survival mindset. Capitalism, first of all, starts with opportunities available to you. So if you were born in a third world country or a developing country versus a country where opportunities are much more readily available to you, that makes a huge difference in terms of how fast you can succeed and what you believe is possible in terms of the speed of your success. Not only that, your family upbringing. If your family upbringing is decently noble, middle class, or upper class, you're gonna already have more self-belief, even as a woman, than perhaps a man born in a third world country into poverty. But it's not as straight cut as we make it sound, because somebody who was given a lot more entitlement and resources channeled to them, no matter how small those resources were, they may actually have more entitlement and the belief in a type of privilege that they have access to than somebody who was born with more resources but not given access to much of it at all. Somebody who was controlled and made to become dependent. So yes, capitalism is all to do with opportunity, time, and poverty trauma. Patriarchal trauma is about how much privilege and entitlement are you allowed to have based on your birth order, gender, etc. Now let's look at racism. Obviously, we live in a white supremacy world. If you're white watching this, please don't feel guilty about it because you didn't create those rules. However, when you're unaware, you can actually be enabling the supremacy agenda. Racism began with colonialism and slave trade. The rich white Europeans decided that, hey, we can just take these people and use them as slaves and we have free labor, which then pumps capitalism. Decreasing expenses, creating a greater profit margin. Slavery, exploitation, and free labor are all results of capitalism, which already existed before colonialism. Just look at the French Revolution, all those poor peasants rebelling against the wealthy royal family and nobles. This was already an ongoing problem in Europe. With colonialism, the rich whites were able to direct the attention of the poor whites to create a distraction towards the people of color, the minorities who are actually the majorities, saying that they will take their jobs. But isn't that funny? Don't we still hear that regarding immigrants and refugees coming to the West? That rhetoric hasn't changed it when it's absolutely untrue. The people who are creating the fear agenda were the wealthy and the privileged. which is a distraction from the crimes that they're actually committing with exploitation. It's a distraction from the fact that they were already taking advantage of these poor white people. Racism was created to pit the two disadvantaged groups, the poor whites and the people of color. You see how this is all tied to, first of all, patriarchy, then capitalism, and then the racism is only a proponent of that. Now, how does this translate to your success right now in this modern day? First of all, every person of color, entrepreneur that I have worked with will have people of color investing in them. They are the vast majority. Very few white people will opt in to purchase anything related to business, education, career growth, or areas of self-development. This is more so true if the entrepreneur is more melanated in their skin tone. I have good statistics on this. If you're a woman entrepreneur selling a service or a skill set as your asset, you have mostly women invest to work with you. If you're a white woman, you have more advantage here with variety. If you're a woman of color, you're going to have much less variety. You're going to have mostly women of color investing in you. Why would this be? Unconscious biases, of course. People think they're very nice, but the truth is that everyone has unconscious biases unless you've actively started to dismantle it. And it takes time to do it because it is so deeply ingrained in us. So if you've never actively dismantled your racism, sexism, internalized misogyny, you have them. You're being run by them. Now, if you are a white man, you will have all sorts of people investing in you to work with you, to buy your services, or even if you're selling a product and you have a personal brand, everybody wants to buy your stuff. It doesn't matter if you're born poor or not. The moment you realize that you have this privilege, you look in the mirror and be like, oh, hey, apparently people just listen to me. I have something commanding within me. You go out there and you start doing stuff. Yeah, it works. If you're a person of color and you're a man and you're putting yourself out there and selling your services, you will have mostly people of color investing in you. But also, you will often get white women, but not white men. Because white men believe that they're better than you. But when a white woman is traumatized by their own white upbringing, they will turn to people of color because they feel somehow safer. Or if you're a white person and you feel like you've lost culture, like you need to do the 23andMe or whatever, you don't know where your family comes from, then you turn to POC because POC have culture. They know where they're from. They know their origins. There's a sense of security that comes with that. As triggering as it sounds, consumer behavior is absolutely driven by CPR power structures as well as their individual trauma. But even the trauma has a clear pattern. When you know this, you stop trying to talk to the wrong people. You're not here to change the world by getting people to opt into you. They can only opt into you once they already know you. They don't opt into you before they have an experience with you. So if I'm putting on social media content, I'm not talking to women who will love patriarchy. Most of my long-term clients are single women who already get they need to break this conditioning within them. They may not be fully conscious. They have those value systems. They want self-sufficiency. They want independence. Usually the type of women that are interested in me would be somebody who either had a really bad experience with patriarchy, like they were with a narcissist and they got ruined, or they're single women with independence values, those who experience lack of privilege due to racial issues. This is why most women's target audiences are gonna be women, because you will have mostly women audiences wanting to buy from you, because the male audiences may feel like they're better than you. Even though you will get some of them, you won't get a lot of them. Whereas when a white man puts themselves out there, they have pretty much every type of person wanting to work with them or to learn from them. This is why the pay gap exists and is real. If you're in a position of leadership, think about it. Having a woman of color female boss and a white man subordinate, just imagine that interaction. Regardless of his good intentions, he's gonna have his supremacy pop up here and there. And she may or may not call it out. If she calls it out, she's gonna be called angry or rude. If she doesn't call it out, it's because she's so used to being a pleaser and being afraid of her environment, of being called angry and rude. This is the pay gap. This is the glass ceiling. Being underprivileged means that you have more counter forces. That's why you feel like you're swimming upstream constantly. What is easy self-development is when you have been disconnected from the fact that you have this inner power and privilege. You recognize it, you put yourself out into the world, and predictably, people respond to your leadership just like that. That is what a white man has that other groups of people don't have. Unfortunately, a lot of the self-development has this white man privileged self-development perspective that you can just tap into your power, go out there and put yourself out there, and then you're gonna get tons of opportunities. And this really isn't true. It doesn't mean you're a lost cause if you're not in a super privileged position, if you are in an oppressed or minority group. But it does mean that every single person has something to start with. And recognizing your own privilege is very important when it comes to creating success from where you are. You have to learn to play the cards that you've been dealt, because there really isn't another way. You also have to be pragmatic. You have to understand that unconscious biases of people are ruling their decision making. Therefore, someone like me, a woman of color, goes out into the world and starts acting like a white man, people will not respond to me kindly. Another thing in the self-development world that tells people who are in the minority or in the oppressed group to just go out there and start commanding and demanding and leading like a white man, and that does not work. A lot of the work that we have to do is to figure out our own leadership style, our own executive presence that is not going to be jarring to people, but is going to get people to opt into us by bypassing those unconscious biases. Figuring out this puzzle is a huge part of the deal when it comes to your success. If not, it's everything. Because once you figure it out, you can really push it forward, and you just have to put in effort. Figuring it out takes the longest. Look at Hillary Clinton. She is an accomplished, intelligent woman with an Ivy League degree. Not to mention, she has tons of experience in politics, and it was truly only due to her conduct of acting just like any old white man that the public has turned against her. Every white man has done what she has done. There's nothing else different. She's not the most abrasive politician that's been there. Far from the truth. When you understand what executive presence, influence, and persuasion style works the best for you based on the public, the world's unconscious biases, you create a community, you get followers, you influence, regardless of whether that's on the internet or in an office space. You position yourself as a leader. So what is the solution here? Everybody has to do their own individual work. You have to work through your own trauma, your own sense of inferiority, and what you would do more than anything once you're given the privilege. That is individual work. So you're gonna need to book a call with me and do your work. I can't really give you a guide and expect that to work magically for you. I'm not withholding information. It's just that there's really not a way to do it. And no energy healing, subconscious reprogramming, audio, none of that stuff is really gonna get to the core. What this work does is unveiling all the blind spots, uncovering them, and doing the deep shadow work. The aspects of you that's hidden, the aspects of you that are complete blind spots that you need somebody knowledgeable, experienced, and wise to come in and show it to you and to help you heal that. That's why you have to know yourself, acknowledge where you stand, and understand the unconscious biases of people, and find your community. And I found that the clients who found their community quickly, they were the fastest to succeed. I did a lot of work to dismantle my own unconscious biases. That's the reason why I'm able to have so many people of color, women of color as my true allies. I also have few white women allies who are able to have these courageous conversations. The only way to really change this world and to close the pay gap, to make success easier for any of you who have been in a position of oppression, is to do our individual work and to spread equity in our own conduct. Another type of work, which is becoming the change that we wish to see in this world. This sounds much easier than done because this is what it looks like. We collectively have to collaborate with those who belong in the minority or oppressed group. No matter how much privilege you may have in that group, you have to recognize your own unconscious biases and dismantle them, which means that you are giving away your supremacy, that you're not willing to stay fragile in your own small segment of power that you're given based on your family upbringing, skin color, all of that combination. Which means we have to get, ideally, a brown man or a Middle Eastern man to start investing in a Black woman's expertise and to pay them. We need to have light-skinned minorities such as myself investing and paying money to more melanated minorities for their expertise. We need to have men from the likes of our cultures to invest in women from the likes of our cultures. Not only that, to invest in more melanated women for their expertise and skills. And to drop the fragility that comes with the unconscious biases. That also means that we have to include the LGBTQ plus community members and to see them as who they really are and see them for what they bring to the table and to invest in them. And of course, we need the support of white women as well. Because what's ultimately going to close the pay gap is to have volume, a lot of volume of people from oppressed and minority groups to get into higher positions of leadership and to have more wealth privilege, which then gives a chance for everybody collectively to start shifting the unconscious biases that we carry. When we see a woman, when we see a melanated individual, when a melanated individual sees a light-skinned minority, we want to cultivate safety and trust and the sense of community and collaboration. This is what's going to close the wealth gap ultimately, as well as the privilege gap. We're not trying to get rid of hierarchy because hierarchy is a natural order. What we want the hierarchy to be is based on skills, competence, experience. It's never going to be perfect. However, it creates a much more fair society than what we have now. A society where opportunity is more or less created equal, where equality isn't only an illusion. Thanks for watching.